94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. I'm Juan Castillo, and this is the Electric Drum, and it is my pleasure to have with me in the studio with me today, Keith Birthwright. He's from the First Inline Mobile Detailing Company, and we're talking about supporting Black businesses in our community. That's what it's all about, man, and you know what? My brother's got a great story that you're going to be inspired by. What's happening, bro? How you doing?
What's going on, Juan? How are you today? I'm doing wonderful.
All right. Well, let's start from the short pants days. You know, early on in your life, where were you born? Tell me about your journey.
Wonderful. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the invite, first of all.
Absolutely.
All right. So getting right into it, I was born in Norwalk, Connecticut, single parent household. As a young boy, my mother, she was raised in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, and she came over here when she was in her young days, probably about 11, 12, 13 years old. So I was raised in a single parent household. My mother tried her best and did her best, and this is the outcome of what you see today.
Right, wonderful. Now you were born in Norwalk, but you moved to Shelton. You had mentioned, right?
I moved to Monroe.
Monroe.
I live with my grandparents and
right.
my two uncles.
Right.
One lives in Atlanta and one lives in Canada. So the father figures I did have in my life were my grandfather, and he was always on the go. He was a construction worker, actually, and then became a foreman. And it was hard back in the 60s and 70s to actually do that as a African-American male.
Right.
And he worked amongst a lot of Italians and a lot of Jews. And, you know, back then it was a little rough. So he gave me that foundation. My uncles also gave me that foundation of what hard work was.
That work ethic.
That's it.
Now you went to school in Hamden, though. You moved to Hamden,
yes,
right?
Yes. My mother actually got a job opportunity out that way. So she moved me to Hamden, or moved us to Hamden, and we lived on Mather Street, actually, in Hamden.
All right.
And this is before the bus company, and this is before Home Depot, et cetera, if anybody knows about Hamden.
Yes.
So we're going a little far back.
Right.
And back then, I lived closer to the school. So I'm fast forwarding, but let me jump back. So I did go to the older Hamden Middle School before they built the newer middle school.
Right.
And had a lot of great teachers there. And two that actually come to my mind are Mr. Harris and Mrs. Henderson, two great teachers.
This was middle school?
This was middle school, correct.
Okay, all right. And then you graduated from there, went to Hamden High?
Went to Hamden High.
Tell me about that experience. That was a little different back then.
Little different. Yeah. And actually coming from Monroe, I was actually the only African-American in my school. So it was a little different. So then when I came here, it was actually opening arms to see more people of color,
right?
More people of that had the same story, basically, that I had, maybe growing up in a single parent household versus, you know, kids in Monroe. They had dual parenting, so it was a little different. Yeah.
So tell me about, you know, high school. You know, what were you involved with during that time?
High school, I was involved with my tennis team. I grew up playing tennis. I also was a ball kid for Volvo International, Pilot Pen, and then it became the New Haven Tennis Tournament. So we're talking about the Malvia Washington days, Serena and Venus Williams when they had the braids, and so we're talking back, and it involved me to be around a lot of great influential people as well, and see another side of life besides basketball and football. I was great at tennis, and I stuck with it, and I played for the high school team, freshman through senior year.
Now, do you still play?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhat with my wife. She actually played for Platt Tech. Right. She played number 1 singles, and then I believe she played number 2 doubles.
Oh, so she was rocking you.
Yeah.
She was rocking you.
So that was something we had in common. I'm going to say, yeah, she was. But I'll dap your hand on the side and, you know.
Hey, she's watching. She's watching. Be careful now.
I love her. We're coming up on our 12th year anniversary.
Oh, that's fantastic.
October.
Congratulations to both of you. That's one. You got any kids?
We have 2 wonderful daughters. Yes, sir.
Okay.
7 and 10 years old.
Okay. You exposing them to tennis?
Somewhat, but I rather expose them to what they're good at.
Okay.
One doesn't have hand-eye coordination, and the other one wants to beat up on everything. So the older one, she's in cross country, and she's in cross country for New Haven age group.
Right.
And we meet during the week. And then she's also runs cross country for her middle school. And then my 7-year-old, she actually is into martial arts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
So let's talk about, graduating from high school, right? So You graduate. Here comes the real world.
Yes.
What do you decide to do at that point?
Just try to figure it out. Did I want to go to college? Did I want to get a job? So my mother forced me pretty much to go to college, get a job, get a career job, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll fast forward a little bit. I did go to Gateway Community College. I got my associate's degree, but I realized 4-year college wasn't for me. Could have been, but maybe I wasn't around the right people, or maybe I didn't have that path of knowing what I really wanted to do. Because like I said, it was just my mother, and I was forced to always do X, Y, and Z. But I just wanted to have a part of my life where I wasn't forced to do anything. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And in life, as I've grown up, I'm 41 years old now, I realized you have to follow your heart and your goals of doing what you have to do and doing what you want to do for you.
Yeah. So what did you study? What did you study at Gateway?
Just general studies.
Okay.
I really didn't have a specific study on what I wanted to do.
Right.
At the time, I did love cooking. I thought I was going to actually go to Johnson in Wales for culinary arts. I did tour the school once, but that just wasn't my thing either. And I couldn't see myself going there for 4 years to study cooking per se.
But so who's the cook in the family? You or your wife?
My wife and I are balanced cooks.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes.
Well, you got that Jamaican background, so I know you throw down, brother.
I show her how to make the oxtail, and she shows me how to make her dishes from our culture. Yep.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing. So you graduate from Gateway. So what kind of jobs did you do after that?
I worked a lot of jobs.
Okay.
Typical Jamaican, right? Had 2 jobs. Went to school. After Gateway, I worked at Job Lot. I worked at the Gap. I worked at Kohl's. I worked at everywhere in Hamden that you could think of. Never did anything in a restaurant field. But I finally got a job at working for group homes, and then I got a job working for the state in 2008. But before that, I was actually working at the Children's Center in Hamden.
Tell me about that. What was that experience like? Working with young people?
Yeah, working with children that didn't have as much, were from broken homes, taken out of their homes. It was actually a wonderful, humbling experience because I could relate because I was a product of a single parent household. So I had that in common with a lot of the kids. Right. Because when you come from a broken home, most of the time you have the world against you. You don't have a lot on your side, percentage wise, and you're going to fail, So I was that one positive person that could instill some type of positive aspect within the kids. And, till this day, I have kids that that are grown men now that I do see out there, and they remember me by face, and they say, "Hey, Keith, how you doing? Hey, what's up, brother?" And I just give them the positive, and I just stay positive.
Right. That's awesome, man. So, keeping in that same vein, because we talked earlier, you decided to continue to work with young people. You went to juvenile detention. Is that?
Yeah, juvenile detention.
Okay.
I started in 2008 there. I did 1 year, worked 1 year there, and then I worked 2 years at the Housatonic Bridgeport juvenile detention on Housatonic Avenue in Bridgeport. And that was, once again, some of the kids, they would, you didn't want to see them graduate from the children's center or any of these group homes to come see you at a juvenile detention facility. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But once again, you stay consistent and you just give them positive words of encouragement and see how they're doing at that point in their life. But for me, it was definitely, like I said, a humbling experience because you also have to look at your own life and say, you know what, I'm blessed.
Right. So you did that, and then you went to work with adults. Talk about that.
Working with adults, yes. 2010, I actually took a test for the Department of Corrections, passed, and I got into the Department of Corrections in 2011. I started at Gardner, which is in Newtown, Connecticut.
Yes.
I actually worked 2 years over there, which is the only mental health prison that we have currently in the state of Connecticut. So it was definitely a lot going into that. But because I worked with juveniles and I had group home experience, I had that experience of talking to people that were probably less fortunate, probably people that needed that extra guidance.
Yeah.
So as a correctional officer, you're in law enforcement, but you're also a counselor, you're a teacher.
Yes.
You could possibly be like a parental figure, depending on how old, these gentlemen are.
Right. And I mean, did you find, man, that, guys that you were working with, adults, right, that they were able to open up to you because of the fact that you were respectful and really, and they saw that you cared?
Yes, definitely. I think everyone has that thing in them, that nia, which is basically a purpose, right? We all have a purpose in life, and I believe my purpose is to just make people smile, make people happy.
Right.
With the business as well, seeing the end result of what I do, having the customers and my clients see the end result, and having that smile on their face, as you know, that's my main goal.
Right. And and to that end, right? I mean, of course, WYBC, we're supporting small Black-owned businesses like every day. Right? That's what we do. It's extremely important, and we support small businesses. Period, because that. I mean, they fuel America. And so let's talk about your business. First in line mobile detailing. Talk about when you started to think about that dream. Like that you wanted to do that. Talk about that. How did you get to that?
Well, one of my jobs, actually, I didn't mention I've had so many.
Okay.
But one of my jobs was actually at Safe and Sound in Orange, Connecticut.
Okay.
And it was a modification company, tint systems, etc.
Oh, okay.
So I used to volunteer my time there. I didn't work there. I actually volunteered and helped out because I wanted to learn that business of installing systems and tints at that time. So a lot of the vehicles that came out of there for Funk Flex Car Show, Hot Import Nights in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Jersey, I actually used to detail a lot of those vehicles because at that time, the owner, Eric, he did not have a detailer. So I said, hey, why not take the opportunity and wash cars?
Right.
But then as I've evolved and gotten older, washing is a totally different perspective than detailing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, back then I could have had a business and started a business if it was kicked in my ear as that knowledge, that entrepreneurial knowledge. But back then I didn't have the entrepreneurial people around me per se until I actually got older.
So tell me, I mean, how did you get the business started? Talk to me about that.
Well,
and what was that day that you said, I'm going to do this, right?
Because I'm a correctional officer, it would get quite boring working on the inside all the time,
right?
Day in, day out, right?
Yes.
Like any other job you have, like any other job, it doesn't matter if you're on the inside or outside, but just seeing those walls, not seeing the outside for 8 or 16 hours every day for years on out, I said, I need a balance. What could I do? And I said, oh, let me go into the box. So I went into my box, mental box, and I said, hey, I like to wash cars. I detail cars. And as I spoke with many people, they said, yeah, you have an eye for perfection. And I always used to say perfection is key. And that's a motto that I live by: how you dress, how you walk, how you talk, everything.
So getting the business started, talk to me about, how did you get that started? Talk about the process of the LLC and all of that.
In 2017, I did become an LLC, and I sat down with my wife and I said, this is something I would like to do. She said it's going to be a hard process because she went to school for networking and communications and finished and got her degree, her 4-year degree, and she knew what it took to actually be a business owner.
Right.
So she helps me out with a lot of it. That's my backbone. She does a lot of my invoices and everything else, et cetera, that has to do with the business.
Right.
Because like I said, if I'm on the inside for 8 or 16 hours a day, I need somebody on the outside to help me.
Right.
Right. So in 2017, I did become an LLC, and everything's been going positive since then. I have all 5-star positive reviews on all my social media platforms.
And now your business is mobile, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So talk to me about, what made you decide to do that? It's, you know what I mean? Instead of like opening up a storefront. Yeah, right. A brick and mortar. Yeah.
The reason why I decided mobile, it was because it would be the best thing for me because I had a full-time job and I still do have a full-time job.
Right.
So it's hard to have an eye on your employees and train your employees day in, day out if you only have 3 or 4 days off from your full-time job.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I'm going to take everything I have, and I saved up a little money, and I got a used 2001 Dodge van, and I started from there.
Put the logo on there.
With the logo. Yep.
Right. So tell me, let's talk about detailing a car, right? Like, first of all, let's start with the outside. Let's start with the inside, right?
Okay.
Like, what do you offer? And I'm not going to say different, but what do you offer in regard to that area?
Well, I'll just say as a package, I have a basic package. I have a mid-grade and I have a superior package. I don't make it too difficult for the customer or the client.
Yes.
I don't have a website because if I had a website, then it would just be too much and it would be overwhelming on my end.
Right.
So the website is forthcoming for when I do retire from my job.
Yes.
Full-time job. But getting back to the question you did ask, which was the interior. So for my interior, I'm going to make your car look brand new. I've never had not one person say, man, my car doesn't look good. My car doesn't. No, everyone has said, my car looks great. It looks brand new or better than the day I got it.
Right.
And ever since my customers and my clients started telling me that, I've made sure all of my cars are the best that they can look off the, like you, as if you got it off the showroom floor, the better than you got it. And I pride myself on that.
Right. And in terms of I'm not gonna have you tell all your products, because then you're giving up the juice,
Yeah,
right?
you don't want to give up the juice.
Yeah, you don't want to give up the juice, right? But I mean, but the goal for you, right? Because what you do is not what going through a car wash,
right?
For $28, right? That's not what you do, right? But what you do is to what?
I get in the nooks and the crannies. I get in all the areas that the average person doesn't look at until they're looking for something that they lost on the receipt, and they have to move the seat up or forward or backwards, and they say, "Oh man, here it is." But look at all this dust. Look at all the Cheetos that my kids left under the seats and all the crevices.
Right.
So I get into all those areas that the average person doesn't see until they're actually looking for something in their vehicle. I get in all the vents, the headliners, that demarcation line on your window that you roll down a little bit when it's raining just to get a little air, and you say, "Oh, what's this little dark line right here? Oh, that's dirt.
Right.
How do I get that off?" Right.
Right.
That's me. I'm the guy for that.
And in terms of the paint job, right? I mean, people, they buy a new car, they got a nice paint job, right? And you want to maintain that.
Yes, for
right?
sure.
And so when you handle that, right, it's not about, a week later, the cars looks like it needs to go back, right?
It's for the long term. It's
Yes.
the longevity. All the products I use are sun friendly. All the products I use are going to protect your car for 6 months to a year. And it obviously depends on the customer or the client and how they upkeep their vehicle.
Right.
And I'm always going to give you a list of instructions typed out, text out, or verbal on how to maintain your vehicle. Because it's not that I don't want to see you again, but I want you to get your money's worth.
That's real cool. That's real cool. Well, listen, bro, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to commend you for taking a chance on yourself, taking a chance on your business. I think it's a legacy for you and your family and for our community. I mean, we need more folks like you, because hey, for you to have some financial freedom in life, it's about owning your own business, right?
Yes.
And we've been trying to convince people to do that, and it's been great. I mean, in the process of us, highlighting Black businesses, we found that it's a lot of folks that are doing what you're doing, right? And 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have thought, you definitely, entrepreneurship is something that people are looking to do today.
Yes. And you shouldn't be scared about doing it. You just have to go dive deep in and just go for it, and talk to other entrepreneurs that do have businesses, whether they started how you started or not. But it's definitely a good idea to start your own business if you have a full-time job or not, and just go for it.
Well, that's great, man. Well, listen, number 203-684-8067 is scrolling right at the bottom of the screen. So there it is, first in line mobile detailing, my brother Keith Birthwright. Brother, thank you. You want to give out a couple of shout outs, man, before, you get in trouble?
But I just want to shout out Juan Castillo for definitely inviting me to this interview. I do appreciate it very much.
Yes.
Shout out my wife, K Birthwright, and shout out my two daughters, Kimley and Ketsa Birthwright.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming through, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, Juan Castillo with you. This has been the Electric Drum. It's the rhythm of the city, 94.3 WYBC. WYBC in the community, 24/7, 365.